And I'll just close by saying, in regards to Gaza right now, because of the situation in Egypt and in the Sinai, while there was more movement in the last, actually since the Egyptian revolution in 2011, that now has been very much curtailed. There's some, but very little, and we just need to keep in mind that situation is always changing. There was some improvement for a while, but it's more a prison now, I think, again, than it has been for a very long time.
I wanted to ask, Rachel Corrie, when she died, really her parents brought the larger community, but Giuliano was assassinated, I believe, 2 years ago?
April 4th, 2011.
2011. How did this affect the Freedom Theatre?
So just the background there, Giuliano, who I mentioned before, who was one of the founding artists of the theater, was murdered in front of the theater in April of 2011. And that case has never officially been solved. So Aram's question was, how did that affect, the theater and the making of theater? So, yeah. And Gary too, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, you'd like to say something? Okay. Actually, it's really difficult when you think about it, because really we lose the leader. We lose. I always said our godfather, as a Palestinian actor, especially who's studying in the acting school of the Freedom Theatre. In the beginning, it was a shock for everybody, because there is someone killed here, and everyone asked himself, maybe I will be the next. But also at the same time, we have two choices. Or we become afraid and we give up and we said, oh, I will not do the Freedom Theatre again. But if we give up this time, that means we will stay give up all our life. But if we continue, but Giuliano's dream, that will make the people in Palestine in general and in the world respect us, and listen to us more, because we're doing real work, not as a cultural resistance. We cry a lot in the beginning, and then we decide to do a play, because we got invitation to Germany during that time to have a tour, and we say, okay, the best reaction will be this play, like to tell the killer, to whoever, what is it, who is it, Giuliano still alive in us, and we are continuing his dream, we are continuing his work, and we are here, we're still here in the theater, more and more and more every day. And also, for me as a student of him, actually, until now I can't believe he's dead, because he was he was a huge energy around us, and he always pushed us to do the theater and to continue our dream. The third Intifada should be cultural. But when I become tired, or when I become bored from the work, I remember Giuliano, he's killed. For me, I must continue his dream. And we are here to tell about him and to thank him also. I think it's a good chance to say thank you, Giuliano. They killed one Giuliano, but we were 13 students in the acting school. We are everywhere. I think now I'm here. There's one of our friends in London do studying, the others in Palestine, and we will keep this culture identity alive.
Yeah, one of them just was in a film that was in Cannes, and will open. I think is also going to the Toronto Film Festival and Tribeca Film Festival. A young man named Iyad. So they're all making it. It's called, what's the name? Omar. So you can check it out.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll add is that the theater, after a period of sort of like, grief, trauma, and some period of instability, has just exploded back into the both national and international scene with extremely aggressive programming, bigger programming, more ambitious programming than ever. We did 4 new plays this year. We sent 3 international tours out, 2 international 6-week workshops. So the place is jumping. And also, constantly in search of funding.
That's coming next. And Gary, also, it's kind of an amazing thing. I mean, the conditions for making theater anywhere, just to make theater anywhere are always so difficult under the conditions that these guys do. But then, and I'm not trying to pat your back. I was there before Jewel died, and I was there after, and I was just not only in terms of productiveness, but the most important thing was that it's really becoming a Palestinian theater. It's really becoming a theater where the people there are taking ownership and responsibility for, and these young guys who, when I was there at first, didn't even really speak English or Arabic. No, I'm just kidding.
We were like this, and you mean it?
But really, the amazing, it's kind of a fairy tale. I hate to use that word, but it really, because it's not. It really is only because of determination and the incredible hard work and the persistence of these guys like this contributing their heart and soul, really. So it's an amazing story. Yeah.
Just a comment. So I understand you came to CCSU to teach at Jenin. Is there an actual courses established in Jenin?
There's
graduate students?
There's
a 3-year acting program that was.
So there are 13 members. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean
there's
the first group.
Okay.
Yeah, there's four principal programs now. It's structured in a sort of set of verticals. There's a what's called applied theater or social theater, which includes drama therapy programs, psychodrama programs, largely for teachers in the schools. There's a youth training theater program trying to train people to work with youth in drama. There's a film and media center which is developing a film program, has some very successful photography programs, particularly for young women in the camp. And then there's the acting school. And the acting school is really the premier program. And so the acting school has anywhere between 6 and 8 students in it at any given time in a 3-year program. And the curriculum is largely based on a lot of physical theater, and these guys were among the first graduates of the acting school.
And it's taught, it's a mixture of. There's a number of people who who teach from there, and then there's people like me or other people who come from abroad to teach. People from the Royal Shakespeare Company, Germany, Sweden, Portugal, all over.
All in all, it's a well-done production. I'm glad that there was a mean or a tool that you used to describe and transmit the story in that method of theater. I think it's more touching and definitely the passion of acting made you nail this scenario pretty well. I really remember it all. I'm an absolute fan of all production of theater and art. I'm Palestinian myself. I'm from Gaza, north of Ashkelon. And I definitely use the method of art as a way to transmit and teach as much as possible about stories. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you. You have a question?
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say wonderful production. I think a lot of stories, and very few of them honestly can bring out, elicit such emotion. A fantastic job. And I wanted to kind of follow up on an earlier question about what you learned, but maybe from an emotional aspect, what was the most difficult thing? And after all this, what have you learned?
Good questions. So emotionally, so to really see the place as immediately as I could, I would watch a lot of documentaries. I watched 5 Broken Cameras, Arnest Children, which is actually really related to the theater and the origins of the Freedom Theater, and Tears of Gaza, and I would just sit and I would watch them, and I would sometimes just listen to them to understand what's the soundscape there, what is it like when you're trying to go to sleep at night, and sort of just the sensory awareness of the place. And that was, watching the videos was just tears, you can't help it. And sometimes I would be in rehearsal and I'd be crying through everything, and they'd be like, "You can't cry through the whole play. People will have no hope, Ashley." And I was like, okay, you're right. So I really got, and even today there were times where I'm like, gotta keep it together.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just doing the play, and also there would be times where, I read "Let Me Stand Alone," which is all of Rachel's writings that have been published in a book, and reading those and understanding just what an amazing person she was. Sometimes I'm like, how can I ever live up to her? And reading all her writing and then really understanding her death was really hard. Still hard. And what I've learned is that you really have to stand up for what you believe in. It doesn't matter if you're standing alone, you gotta do it. And when I first told people about this play, like, I have friends who were like, "I'm not coming to see that." And I was like, okay, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. And so yeah, just really to be your own person and to develop what matters to you and to just fight for it.
I wanted to ask a question of Cindy and Craig. What has been the reaction from Evergreen State to what happened to Rachel, and then the community of Olympians?
Do you mean the college, the
Yes.
Evergreen State College? Right. Rachel attended the Evergreen State College, which is in Olympia. It's a state school, very progressive, if you know about it, a lot of integrated learning and so forth. It's a young college, and we moved to the Olympia area in 1975, and it was only a few years old then. But our family connected to some folks from Evergreen before Rachel went there. We knew, people who had gone, and it changed the community a lot. Evergreen really, we're the state capital, but also now we're really impacted by the presence of Evergreen in the community. I think in a very positive way. The response, of course, from people at the college was, of course, first just shock at what had happened. But we became, our family, very connected to, we weren't living in Olympia at the time, Craig and me, but my daughter Sarah was. They were immediately involved in supporting us. Rachel's professors, she spent a lot of time preparing for this journey. She didn't just up and go to Gaza one day. She had planned for it. The International Solidarity Movement was formed when there was a resolution before the United Nations to bring a peacekeeping force, a human rights monitoring force to the region. It was vetoed by the United States supporting Israel. And when that happened, that resolution was brought by the High Commissioner of Human Rights in the UN at the time. But at that time, ISM formed. And when she gets the letter from Chris in Gaza, it's because he was one of the original group that traveled in 2002 to do this kind of work in solidarity with Palestinians. We know the founders of ISM now. Ghassan Andoni is one, professor in the West Bank, in Beit Sahur, who feels tremendous, in a sense, responsibility for what happened to Rachel. I mean, a lot of sadness. And also, Adam Shapiro was one of their group that are kind of the co-founders. Adam was from New York City. He had been working with youth through Seeds of Peace and in Jerusalem for some time, and was very troubled kind of by what he saw in that whole situation. He became one of the co-founders. Huwaida Araf, who's now his wife, also one of the co-founders of the organization. So Netta Golan, who is Jewish Israeli, but has lived in the Ramallah area for a long while. These were the folks that formed this group. But Rachel, deciding that this was something she might want to do, did a lot of learning like you did, looking at the documentary films. When I went back to Olympia, she had checked out films from the library to have me watch with her because she brought our family to this issue. If we had an allegiance before that, it was very much to the Israeli Jewish narrative, which is what we knew. I had read to our kids about Anne Frank and other stories about, some Jewish children who were hidden away by families and survived the Holocaust, and of course all the rest who did not. And so that was where we were coming from. So Rachel was bringing us to this, and she did that through documentary film, towards pointing me to websites. She didn't want us to be afraid.